How many folk know what the collection is every Sunday and where it's being spent? How many people know the pastor's salary? Okay, but then you have religious leaders that are paid very well.
$400 billion in
to
the
go
last
right
30
and
years.
perpetuate this system right here in Georgia. And that's why you can't get beyond that.
We're going to have a part two, but I've got to, we've got a couple of things that our executive producer is saying that we're not getting out of here until we ask a couple of more questions, and we're going to get to them right now. 17% of non-whites voted for Brian Kemp in his latest gubernatorial election in Georgia. As we know, in 2016, 8% of black men specifically voted for Donald Trump. Is the Democratic Party losing black men, and why? Corey, I want to start with you, and because it seems like there's a because you are a supporter of Kemp. You kind of asked what that question. You know, what was your reading? You kind of talked about it earlier, but
I think here's the truth, and my truth. When you start a business, you're at least 40% Republican, just from a mindset point of view. It's just, you know,
you may be 40% conservative.
That's what I mean.
Well, say that, because there's a difference.
Well, let me say it different.
There's a difference between being
conservative. I'll say conservative. You're at least thinking about, man, I don't know about them taxes. Man, what is this insurance? And why am I having to have a terrorism insurance? What's that about? You start to look at those bottom lines that you don't look at as an employee, and you start to wonder, you know, do we need all of this?
But why do you all believe that that's a problem that only Republicans can solve?
I don't think that it's a problem that only Republicans can solve. I just think that when you are listening to the small business and the business narrative, you're hearing it mostly from the conservative group, not from the Democrat side. You're not going to the Democrat events to hear about small business plans, long-term business growth plans. We're not having that discussion in that room. What we're talking about is maybe programs, maybe social reform, absolutely, things of that nature. So if you're shifting your mindset into, I want to start a business, I want to build a legacy, I want to understand the nuances of the different levels of business, of changing LLCs into corporations. You're not hearing that conversation in the room that we call Democrat. You're more hearing that in the conservative rooms. And the truth is, if I want to build a legacy for my children,
you juxtapose Republican and conservative again, and here's why I challenge you on that. From a brand standpoint, black folks are probably more conservative than anybody.
Amen.
And minorities are more conservative.
But then where is that in the vote? Where is that conservatism in the vote?
Because conservatism means something different. To white folk,
the brand of conservatism.
The white folk conservative mean I don't want you to get an abortion. I don't want my wife to have an abortion, but I don't want your wife to have an abortion. Whatever my belief is, I want you to have the same thing. You know, it's incredible that conservatives criticize Iran for being a Muslim country, but they want America to be a Christian country. They want the same thing. When I grew up in Memphis, 50 years ago, you couldn't buy clothes on Sunday. All right? That ain't got nothing to do with Judaism or Muslim. That got to do with Christianity. Let's be clear about this. This is a white Christian supremacist country. That's what this is about. I mean, you can't get away with it. We victimize each other because we've been taught to victimize each other.
The original question was, okay, we know this is a white, conservative, Christian nation. Why are more black men? Brother Waleed, I want to come to you because I know you kind of listen to both sides of the conversation. Why do you believe that more brothers? Because here's the thing. I'm having conversation with brothers. Right. And one thing that I often say is a black contrarian with no solutions is worthless to me. And a lot of that is based around just being a contrarian. When you have a total flip from a lot of the men who voted for Obama are now voting for Trump. To me, that's just a lot of men, black men as well. And so, Brother Waleed, what's your perspective on why you believe that black men are starting to stray away a little bit from the Democratic platform?
Well, I have to agree with several points around the table. For me, it's about business, entrepreneurship, and legacy. And I think with money, we can solve a lot of problems. And when you look at the conversations that are taking place at the table, it's like not only which one is going to give me opportunity, but which one is going to give me access. And oftentimes, as a businessman, you hear people say, hey, I support both sides. I write a check just to have access. And who I vote for will be my own private business, because you want to make sure you're not locked out of the process. So as an entrepreneur, it's more strategy than anything else. And we have to elevate the conversation from not just U.S. politics, but global politics. When you traveled abroad under President Obama, the rest of the world is tribal. We were part of the Obama tribe. That was a premier opportunity for us to go and connect and bridge the gap between Africa and African American, to do business and trade, because we saw more of intellectuals than what you see on Housewives. You understand? Or just being an African entertainer. So now that conversation is different. If I'm raising money from overseas to do foreign direct investment in the U.S. now, they're looking at, what are the foreign policy? Am I going to lose my passport? Are Muslims being banned? Am I going to have access to my capital? What is the policy locally that's affecting your ability to do business overseas? So the whole conversation changed. It's not just Democratic, Republic. It's the conversations that are taking place and which candidate is going to give you access to thrive in your business domestically and opportunity to grow your business internationally.
So do you, and I'm coming to you. I know you're chomping at the bit. I'm coming right to you. And we got to wrap up. We're over, but this is such a great, rich conversation. Corey, I'm coming back to you on this question. No, because you know, this is the brother. You're in the room with these when it's lock her up, when it's, you know, run them people away from the border, when it's, you know, black men are lazy, lock them up. How do you
Tunnel vision. Yeah, how do you?
how do you just close that out and not be personally affected by that type of rhetoric?
I go ahead and be personally affected. And because at the end of the day, what's most, I look at this whole thing strategically, not emotionally, not even just tactically. I look at it totally strategically. And I look at not the race, because people say what they need to say to get in their seat, to get their people to vote for them, their base, right? We've turned politics into that. These two extremes with the primaries, where we're forcing them to go into these extremes. We, the people, okay, right? And our media tendencies, the things that we watch, the things that we share on Facebook, has polarized this country from a political point of view. So you have to look more at, okay, come January, which policies are going to support me the most, regardless of what was said back in October. Come January, when the inauguration happened, which policies are going to support the things that I care about the most? And I challenge everybody, vote your conscience, you know, on that. But my conscience was more about what was most important for me, was building legacy for my children's children, which is more, I feel like, through a business point of view. And that was the decision I made.
One thing that I'm coming straight to you, but one thing that I've noticed a lot, regardless of the color of your skin, a lot of Republicans seem to think from the perspective of me, whereas a lot of Democrats and liberals seem to think from the perspective of us. And there's pros and cons to both of that. Because ultimately, when it's all said and done, we're responsible for our house and taking care of the people in our house. If we think community and our community on the same page, you got a whole bunch of different issues that are being addressed. And once again, the people are really driving the power because they're driving economics.
Those who are voting Democrat are thinking us. Those who are running for office are not thinking us. I want to clarify that. In her particular race, I remember going to a particular African-American congressman about the primary. And when I got into the room, the African-American congressman said, I want you to know that I'm supporting a particular candidate, and it wasn't you. It's a Democratic candidate. And so as we started talking about issues, I called no names. The African-American congressman said, I want you to know right now I'm going to support the black woman. Well, what color are you? That was a black man. Now let me ask you something. You said, was it 17% of the African American men that voted for Trump? Is that the figure that you had?
8% voted for Trump, 17% of non-white voted for Trump.
All right, so 8% voted for Trump.
8% voted for Trump, 17%
That
voted
meant that
in
92%
Georgia.
did not vote for Trump. Now the reason I'm turning that back on you is because you turned those figures back on me when I talked about African American men not marrying and taking out and taking care of black women. So let's turn it back around.
And a lot of that, I believe, in terms of African American men, is misogyny. They will not vote for a woman. And so whether it was the white woman Hillary or the black woman Stacey, black men, there is too many who are misogynists. They talk about their mamas, but they wouldn't vote for their mama.
There was a good question to see whether or not there was an African American man running for governor, and we've had him run for governor before, what those statistics would have been. And when we talk about actually the parties, the people who are funding those parties, that's why we need to talk about campaign finance, are doing the marketing in terms of what you should believe and why you should believe it. We're going to see a greater divide between African American men and women if this continues, because those African American women feel they have no place to go.
And what she said something that's key. She said Democratic voters are thinking we, but the elected officials, they not. And I think when it comes to the voters, we are very, very emotional voters. That's why in Atlanta or in a Georgia race, you can scream black girl magic. But nothing about your past or history says you care about black people.
And power rising.
Nothing about your policy says you care about black people. Black Girl Magic has been the mayor of Atlanta for a full year now. What has black people gotten?
That's something that, and I swear I'll come to you, brother Ali, but that's one thing also that I challenge folks on. Okay. We say that you talking about Mayor Bottoms hasn't done anything with black folks. She's been in office for a year.
I'm talking about Mayor Bottoms.
Hold on, let me finish. Let me ask my question.
Okay.
What is it that you're looking for her to do that she has not done, and what can we do as a people collectively to support what you're looking for her to do?
Mayor Bottoms sat in a house full of, I think you were at this meeting too, at Malvin Davis' house. It was a coalition of grassroots people. We gave her a 100-day agenda. And we said before the runoff, these are the things we want to be done in your first 100 days of running. One of those things was the no cash bail, the signature bail policy. That was one. But it was a whole agenda that was supposed to be done the first 100 days. What has been done? And I can email it to you, and I can let you see
Please
it.
do.
This is a signed signature of what will be done.
So I think the challenge that we have in that is that power does not release power without putting pressure on them, right? I know I butchered that quote. But what you're saying, bringing that public or bringing that to a JEEPAC and saying, let JEEPAC review what you have so that they can put their resources and pressure behind it. Because we know politicians, I don't care what they call it, they're not going to do nothing unless somebody puts some heat on
Well,
them.
here's the issue with bringing the pressure and issue on it. Now you bring pressure. Now it's, oh, you just a black man that hate black women. I do feel like there are a lot of black men that don't protect black women, but I do feel like there are times where accountability need to be held down regardless of your gender or color.
Sure.
And that's what we're not seeing. We are very symbolic voters. I feel like this last mayor race, for all the work that Vincent Ford has done for the people, for all the history of what he's done, for what we need in this city, it is a shame that this had to be. You got people out here symbolic voting. Oh, I'm going to go with my man Caesar. He a Morehouse man. Or I'm going to go here because this is my frat. Or I'm going to do this because she comes to the meetings. Like, we're talking about Atlanta where our last city council meeting, we voted to give billionaires $2 billion, 8-6. In the same meeting, we voted to pull eminent domain on black family homes 11-3.
And let's not leave labor out, and I'm part of labor. Cool. When you have big labor unions run by white men who are Republican, will tell you that put raises behind black politicians at the state level and the city level because they get certain contracts out of them. That plays a big, big part. And I've been a part of that and seen it firsthand.
So it's just simple. Like, all we're saying is I